Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Today I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'll be talking about the weather health stresses for August 23rd, 2026, and this is a weather report. Looking at the surface map for Sunday, we do have that large frontal system stretching all the way from Montana across into probably about Denver down into Oklahoma City, across to Shreveport, back over to Atlanta, and then all the way up to Boston. High pressure up through the heartland. Showers, thunder showers along the northern plains, still having that activity from the monsoon in the Four Corners. And note we'll have a little bit of activity about the eastern lakes and across the northwestern portions of New England, with that bubble low ending up there in southern Canada. Looking at our vitality index, we have a lot of activity centered about Idaho, a little bit more activity across the northern plains, and we have something very interesting going on here in Oklahoma. And then, of course, right along the Gulf with that unsettled weather, southerly flow. Looking at pressure change, always of interest, we have some rising pressure here in western Washington, eastern Washington state. We have falling pressure up the plains, Nebraska through the Dakotas, just picking up a touch of far northeastern Montana. We also have falling pressure here from Connecticut up through Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine. Temperature changes, not really significant, at least for most areas. We are still steaming across the south, and a little bit more seasonal to actually pleasantly mild across the north. But note, we do have lots of changing temperatures up and down across the intermountain areas up through the Rockies, and that's with showers and thunder showers. A little bit of cooler temperatures trying to work its way into Vancouver, British Columbia, down into northern Idaho. We also have one interesting area of bubble rising temperatures here across Oklahoma. Dew point temperature changes pretty significant here, with rising dew points across the Dakotas, but falling dew points in the Pacific Northwest, falling dew points along the eastern seaboard. Looking at vapor pressure, it's a lot more defining, as you can see that we have falling vapor pressure, Pacific Northwest, falling vapor pressure here across Oklahoma, and note the large area of falling pressure across much of the east. Looking at our lifted index, or the measure of instability, in spite of that frontal system, note that it is not really a tremendous area of instability except along the frontal boundary itself, and then a little bit down here in Louisiana. Looking at the change in oxygen availability, this is a little more interesting with the migraine stresses, really across Vancouver, British Columbia, down into eastern Washington state, eastern Oregon, most of Idaho, and just touching portions of Montana. Note we also have a significant area of migraine stresses across Louisiana and across southern Florida, and then we'll jump to that large area from eastern, basically Kansas, eastern Kansas, across Missouri, through Tennessee, Kentucky, all the way to the Carolinas, and then everywhere north through the Ohio Valley, from Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, touching Wisconsin, and on into southern Canada, picking up those Canadian cities, Windsor over to literally about Toronto. Notice that we have asthma and arthritis stresses right along the Pacific Northwestern coast from San Francisco to Seattle. We also have asthma and arthritis stresses here across Nebraska and the western Dakotas up to eastern Montana. Very significant area of asthma and arthritis stress here across Oklahoma. And note we have some asthma and arthritis stresses in New England, really from New Jersey up to Vermont, New Hampshire, and across Maine. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated. If you hurt, tell us where you're located.